Today we are going to discuss 10 equations that changes the world. We will see the total 10 equations that changes the world. Okay, what is that equation? The brightest mind in history have used mathematics to lay the foundation for how we measure and understand our universe. Time and time again we have proved that it only takes one simple formula to alter the source of humanity. Here are 10 equations did just that. The first equation is that Isaac Newton's law of universal gravitation. That is F is equal to G m1 m2 by r squared. This is the first equation which changes the world. Newton's law explains why the planet move the way they do and how gravity works. Both are on Earth and throughout the universe. First published in July 1687, the law of universal gravitation was the de facto reference equation for nearly 200 years until Einstien theory of general relativity replaced it. Now moving to second equation is Albert Einstein theory of relativity, that is E is equal to mc square, right? What is the use of this? Einstein most famous undertaking the generally accepted theory on the relationship between space and time, first proposed in 1905, the theory of relativity that has both radically altered the course of physics and deepened our knowledge of universe, past, present, and future. This equation tells about past, present, and future. Okay, now moving to third equation that changes the world is the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem is states that a square is equal plus b square is equal to c square, where a, b, c will be the side of a triangle. This ancient theorem first recorded in 570 BC before Christ is a fundamental principle in Euclidean geometry. This is the father of geometry and the basis for the definition of distance between two points. Pythagoras theorem. That states Pythagoras theorem also describe relationship between the side of a right angle triangle on a flat plane, and in any plane relationship between the sides of a right angle triangle, that is Pythagorean theorem. This is the third equation. Okay, now moving to next equation which has changes the world is Maxwell equation. Maxwell equation states that James Clerk Maxwell set of equations describe how electric and magnetic field are generated and altered both by each other and by charging and current. Okay, first published in 1861 and second in 1862. They are to classical electromagnetism what Newton's law of motion and universal gravitational are to classified mechanics. So in the mechanics there is scientist Newton, but here in the electromagnetic field Maxwell equation is changes the world. Okay, now moving to next equation is second law of thermodynamics. Rudolf Clausius law states that energy always flows from higher concentration to lower concentration. It's also states that whenever energy changes or moves, it becomes less useful. Okay. 5. It has led to the development of technology like internal combustion energy, cryogenics, and electricity generation that has changed the world. How electricity has changes the world we can see in our daily life. That is equation is ds is greater than or equal to 0 always for any system, right? Now moving to next equation is logarithm equation, that is log xy is equal to log x plus log y. Logarithm was introduced by John Napier in the early 17th century as way to simplify calculation. They answer the question how many of x number do we multiply to get number y. So that answer are given by the logarithm theorem. Logarithm were adopted in the early navigator, scientists and engineers. Today scientific calculators and digital computers do the work for us using logarithm theorem. This is the logarithm theorem which has proposed by John Napier in the early 17th century. Okay, now moving to next equation is calculus. This is the most important equation in the mathematics field, that is df is by dt is any function's derivative will be limiting value of function of t plus h minus function of t by h, where h tending to 0. This calculation shown in the definition of the derivative in differential calculus. One of the calculus to measure branches. Okay, the derivative measures the rate at which a quantity is changing. In the 16th hundreds, Newton's used calculus to develop his law of motion and gravitation. While he is discovering on the law of motion and gravitation, he discovered this equation of calculus, that is derivative equation, to solve problem of law of motion and gravitation. Okay. Now moving to next equation is Schrodinger equation. This equation describes how the quantum states of a quantum system changes with time. That is describes developed. This is developed by the Australian physicist Erwin Schrodinger in 1926, about 100 ago from now. It governs the behavior of atoms and subatomic particles in quantum mechanics. After describing this, we have done many discover in the field of atoms, like we made a hydrogen bomb using these equations. Schrodinger equation paved the way for nuclear power. We have introduced nuclear power, microchip, electronic microscope, and quantum computing. So we can relate this equation, importance of this equation in our daily life. Okay, now moving to next equation is information theory. This equation states that information theory is h is equal to minus sigma of px into log px, that is any function is multiplied with log of that function and sum of that function is equal to minus of h. This equation states that information theory is branch of mathematics that studies the coding of information in form of sequence of symbols. Many symbols have formed the information technology, right? So and the speed at which that information can be transmitted. So this is also an important role in our daily life, that how any wave is transmitting in the electrical and electronic system. That is application of topics within information theory includes data compression and channel coding. Research in the field was also instrumentation instrumental in the development of the internet and mobile phones. That is how we internet and mobile phone changes the world, that we can relate from this theory. Okay, now moving to last theory is this is Chaos theory. Chaos theory is also an important role in our daily life. Chaos theory is branch of mathematics that studies complex system. Complex system whose behavior is extremely sensitive to slight change in condition. In essence, it shows how a small alternation can lead to consequences of much greater scale. Chaos theory has applications just about everywhere. That is sociology, meteorology, in many fields. And equation is x of t plus 1 is k times x of t into 1 minus xt. This is the equation of Chaos equation. So this is the 10th equation which changes the world in our daily life. If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe our channel. Okay, thank you.